I've had a few friends lately asking me about the Nine Veils, and I was already planning on being a part of a project to discuss these in more detail, and so I've been waiting, so to speak, until my research is a little bit more complete. And um, so really what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to kind of riff on this without really having a whole lot prepared, and we're going to see how that goes. So I'm going to briefly, just by name, go over what the Nine Veils are. I'm going to discuss a little bit of the background theory of reality, and then we're going to hit those nine veils in a little bit more detail. So, number one, politics. Number two is history. Number three is control by the elite. Number four is secret societies. Number five is secret technologies. Number six is an ET presence on the earth now. Number seven is numbers, sacred geometry, fractals. Number eight is God. And number nine is love. So what are the nine veils in short? So basically, the nine veils are these in order for your awareness and for your consciousness to access complete freedom, so to speak, piercing through the nine veils is essential. If you believe in any of these nine veils being an ultimate controlling force in your reality, then there's still more work to do. So, the nine veils, one could say, is these are constructs created and embedded into civilization to keep you in a place of ignorance and in a place of disempowerment. So, where the vantage point that I come from is that this is basically, we are in a slave society. So we are not, our culture has been created in such a way that we are inhibited from accessing our true potential. And the way that we are being inhibited is through the constructs of these nine veils. So, one must also consider that these nine veils also they're external as well as internal, in my opinion. And so part of the numbing effect, the way that we are inhibited as a collective, is that we are conditioned to consider that wisdom comes from the external world. So we have schools to educate us, we have books to educate us, we have the internet to educate us, have this video to educate you. You have religions to educate you. You have mentors to educate you. Your teachers to educate you. And really, that's a load of shit. Now, they can support and they can guide you, but ultimately what any one of us believes is the truth is your decision. It is not the decision of some external authority, whether that be a book, philosophy, person, entity, consciousness, deity, whatever you might think is outside of you. That is not the authority of your reality. The authority of what you believe to be true is you. Plain and simple. Everything else is simply a suggestion, an invitation, an influence, and then you agree to that. So your consent to whatever wisdom it is you hold as true is ultimately yours. And these 9 veils ultimately are designed to have you looking to the outside world for your power, the outside world for your structure, the outside world for your truth. So really, this is an inward journey, which is why I also believe that these veils occur inwardly. So these veils, as I spoke them, evoke an external idea. But in order for you to pierce through them, you have to journey inward and go piercing through. You're not piercing outwardly, you're piercing inwardly. So you're going through your agreements of how powerful these ideas are, and you are dismantling them. That is what piercing the 9 veils means. And so it means getting access to your authentic potential, access to your authentic truth, access to all things. So I have a couple of things I would like to discuss briefly before getting into the 9 veils, the discussion, because I believe these concepts to be pretty paramount to having any access to piercing them. So we're going to speak about the word truth and deception. Well, now that's 2 words. So we're going to speak about these 2 words, truth and deception. And really, they're just concepts. And what's interesting is that deception in and of itself is a kind of truth. So I had, in one of my meditations, I had a very interesting revelation about the nature of deception and how deception is actually part of the fabric of physical 3D reality. Now, whether that's part of the fabric of other higher dimensions or higher scalar consciousness, I don't know at this point, but I can say it is my strong opinion that deception is very clearly interwoven into the fabric of 3D reality. And part of our deception is that we believe truth is the ultimate part of that reality, but really it's our discernment of what is true for us. And that everything around us, and even ourselves, we utilize deception to get our way. Now, sometimes we use truth, but we have to be honest here. We typically always color a story to somehow leverage our place as more advantage, typically, is more typical. So, a little bit more on the whole why is deception. So if we even look at any of the anything that exhibits active intelligence, and I'm not saying, I would say that there is intelligence in inanimate structure as crystals and planets, but perhaps we can only consider plants, insects, so the non-elements, let's put it that way. Intelligence outside of the elements in these other constructs, plants, insects, animals, human beings, extraterrestrials. Deceptions all over the place. It's how things get done. Plants will deceive insects into pollinating them. They will change their structure. They will change their color. They will somehow, or their fragrance, to attract the right bug to pollinate and move on to the next plant with that same aspect. Insects use deception to avoid being eaten. So they will present themselves as something more menacing, or present themselves as more distasteful. There's that one butterfly that looks like a monarch butterfly, but it isn't. And monarch butterflies are supposedly bitter. So, and then animals start using deception. Even the peacock. I mean, there's a presentation there. There's the feathers will billow up to make themselves bigger than they are. The cobra has the fan out to make it a little bit more menacing. The predators have camouflage, so that way you don't see them. They're not there. The animals that they prey on, the herd animals, also camouflage, so you can't see them. They're not there. I mean, deception is everywhere in the natural world. It is part of the fabric. And then, so we must realize that anything that has any power to influence can be used as a tool or as a weapon. That's it. And it's not a big fucking deal. We just need to know that. We don't need to take it personally. And so the fact that people lie about who they are, I mean, we lie all the time. I mean, you're not the same person at work that you might be on Snapchat or some other social media app, or perhaps at home, or the way that you interface with your children is not the same way that you would interface with your boss. And the way that we talk to people, sometimes we're just in agreement. We hear something in conversation and we don't speak up about it, that it bothers us because we want to stay fitting in. Deception is I'll just say it's a tool that we use to create relatedness. And I bring this up because that's ultimately what the veils are, in my opinion. These are deceptions created to create a particular construct, which is the earth as it is now. So, don't take it personally when anything lies to you. You know, it just is. It's on you, it's on me, it's on every single one of us to have the power of discernment, and we think that is our right for people to tell us the truth, when really it is our responsibility for our own selves to discern the truth. It is not on the other person to tell them the truth. So, let's go ahead and move on. Because to me, that whole idea of deception is going to ring through every single one of these veils. And when we can get over it, to not be personally offended or affronted that we have been lied to. Like, let's get over it, okay? Let's not give it an emotional charge. Let's be excited that we are becoming empowered to discern and govern for ourselves what is resonantly powerful for us. So, and before I go into just another concept of all things, is that in order for all things to exist, all vibrations must exist. So the negative vibrations and the positive vibrations simultaneously exist. For all things to exist, that is all happening now. Plain and simple. And we each have our combination of resonances. We each have our negative slanted vibrations and our positive slanted vibrations. And we're this beautiful, wondrous collage of positive and negative. It's like food. Can you imagine if all food, if we consider sweet to be a high vibration? I'm not saying that it is, but let's say we considered sweet to be a high vibration. You can pick any flavor. If you want bitter to be a high vibration, great. Pick bitter as your high vibration. Imagine that all food was that, and that you avoided anything else with it. I mean, the most delicious food sometimes has all those colors of vibration. It's got a little, that's why sweet and sour even exists, a little bit of bitter, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pungent. It's sometimes that's what makes life so incredibly fulfilling, is this dance. So, the choice is yours, whether you want to go through and take on the journey of piercing the 9 veils. And so as we go to the first one, and I'm probably going to drop out of these on occasion when something shows up in my head. So politics. So we have this idea. Right now, as I'm recording this, we're about 10, 11 days out from the 2016 election, which has been this really trying journey to listen to this. And what's really true is they both lie. They both lie, and we're offended by this. But really, it's up to us to discern who's lying and who's not. And then the next layer is the whole governance of people, and the governance that we're under this illusion that the laws are designed to protect us, that the government has our best interest at heart, that corporations believe they wouldn't do anything to hurt the people, that the medical industry, no, they're taking an oath to heal, and that the medical industry and and the pharmaceuticals wouldn't do anything to hurt people. There's this whole idea that no, they wouldn't incorporate deception to get their own way. And that delusion that we are so trusting of them. And it's not about using the fact that you distrust somebody to be a negative polarity. It's more like it's discernment, which is different than distrust. You're going to take the time to really evaluate what's happening and not just take everything at word value. In fact, don't take anything that I'm saying as truth or at value. Really, this is your journey. I'm just creating an invitation here for you to go investigate for yourself. This is, for the most part, this is not anything that I've read, except for that little blurb I did in the front when I read this list down to you. I'm not even sure those are the real fucking 9 veils. I'm not even sure that there's 9 veils. There's a resonance of truth around it for me. And I think the journey is important to pierce through every single one of these concepts. So with politics, we really have this delusion that that the government is going to take care of us, that regulation is going to take care of us, that the law is going to take care of us. And no, it isn't. You take care of yourself. You, if you choose to be the steward of your family or your community or whatever it is, you lead the charge in taking care of yourself and that community. Period. The law does not protect you. The police does not specifically protect you. The government, the regulations don't automatically protect you. They don't automatically protect you. Let's just put it that way. So when the police arrest somebody, it's right there. We've seen it on television 1,000 times, Anything you say can and will be used against you. That's actually quite menacing and threatening. That is really a horrible decree. And then at the very end, after they read these rights, they ask you, do you understand these rights as they have been read to you? What a load of shit that you are basically hypnotized into this kind of consensual agreement that is really quite a menacing posture that the law officers and the law system takes as they confront you as a suspect to breaking a law. Anything you say can and will be used against you. There's no decree that the law will shake this out so that way, we will discern what the truth is and make sure that you are guaranteed every right as upheld by the law. Not really. I mean, they have this, you have a right to an attorney and all that crap. But really understand that it's up to each one of us to take the stand. And every day that each one of us, and I'm guilty of this too. I can't say that I'm out there as an activist promoting it. Maybe this video is my big plunge in to say enough, silence from me. I am complete in my silence, and now it is time to speak up. That's where we are in the role of politics. When we vote for someone and then we go, I voted for somebody and now my person is in office and that person's going to look out for me, right? Fucking wrong. Wrong. Now you can still engage in the system and you can vote for somebody, but don't just fucking kick back and expect anybody who's in one of those positions to look out for your interest, they're looking out for their interest first, period. Nothing evil about that, just so we're straight. You have what's important to you, I have what's important to me, anybody in political office has what's important to them. Just get it fucking straight. That's the way that it is, and it's okay. It's not evil, it just is. So everybody that's in public office is looking out for what's important to them. And yes, there is a small percentage of people who put their constituency, the people they represent first, and put their selfless desires second. Chances are the system doesn't allow many of those people in anyways. And then once you get into the system, you're slowly nursed and conditioned to consider yourself first rather than the people you represent. Just get over it. That's the way that it is, and it's up to us to police that. That is why in the Declaration of Independence it actually says that it talks about the rights of the people, the inalienable rights of the people to seek their own happiness, and that we create government and vote people in office to uphold those inalienable rights. And it is the right of the people to alter or abolish the government when it ceases to serve those inalienable rights. It is our right. Basically, it's back on us. It is up to us to take charge. It is up to us every day, in every moment. It is up to us. The laws are set down as these guidelines, and then we consent to them and agree to them so we don't create too much havoc, so to speak. And it's a sense of order, but that's awesome that we create this consensual agreement, and then on top of that system, various aspiring political figures have laid down law on top of all those things that the public use, and this is for them to use to stay in power, to stay rich, to stay wealthy. It just is what it is. It's up to us. There's a whole big thing going on now in the Dakotas with this pipeline, and we've got amazing people out there fighting for what's right, and that's what it takes. The law isn't just going to say, companies, you don't have the right to do that. No, it takes people. It takes people who say, no, this is my drinking water and you're not going to fuck with it. Period. These are native lands. You're not going to fuck with them. Period. That's what it takes every day when we're confronted with something like that. The law does not take care of you automatically. It can take care of you if you fight into the system, and the laws have been changing for at least 100 years to leverage more power for the elite, so to speak, which is going to bring us, that's the number 3. But so the politics is an illusion. The fact that you vote for people into this system, that the system's going to take care of you, is a load of shit. So basically, you have to go deeper. You have to go deeper. Really, at the end of these 9 veils, it's you. I'm just cutting to the chase here. We have all these ideas of what the penultimate realities are, and really, at the end of it, it is you, and it is unity. Unity. All things, one consciousness, into this amazing, infinite bundle of singularities. Where am I going? I don't know. We're just riffing here. So, politics. It is a tool, or it can be a weapon. We can still use politics just because it's not the ultimate truth doesn't mean we can't use it. We can use politics, but don't be deceived that they just automatically take care of you. Don't be deceived that your vote automatically takes care of things. Don't be deceived that the system is going to speak truth to you all the time. It isn't. It's up to you to discern the truth, period. So we're going to move on. History. History. So many people like to say this is what happened in the past. And really, to be quite honest, you don't fucking know. You don't know shit about what happened that wasn't in your life at the moment you witnessed it. Period. You don't know those details. Now, what happens ultimately is there's enough people with enough agreement to write things in books. And when you put it in writing, and you have enough agreement by people who say they were there, or people who say they witnessed it, or people who say they researched it. And really, what did they research? They researched another witness. That's all they did. And somebody said something, and somebody said, oh, by the way, we researched the record, and this is what somebody wrote in a letter, or this is what somebody decreed in a document. Guess what? Everybody could have been fucking lying at any stage of the game. And guess what? There's a whole bunch of liars all over the place. They're not evil. Don't make it a bad thing. It's not a big thing. Don't fucking lose your shit over it. It just is. Deception is just part of the fabric of the universe. We color things all the time. I'm coloring things right now, just so you know. I'm not lying on purpose, and I'm not deceiving things on purpose, but you know what? I have an intention to project my reality outward. And so I'm trying to watch that. But it is the truth. When we write something down, especially if we're writing something down for legacy, oh yeah, we're going to write it down so that way we get all those words right, and we're definitely trying to push forward our agenda, or however it is. We'll take the facts that can be corroborated, and then we'll finagle them together. And so that's all that history is. History is basically a reflection of people's accounts. It's this consensus of people's accounts. And in some cases, we go so far back. I mean, really, how far back can you go? Maybe 100 years? When you go back 100 years, it's fucking anybody's ball game what really fucking happened. We don't know. We don't know. And in that process, anything can be written, and once enough time goes by, we just accept what that small consensus, the people who actually publish it is actually a tiny consensus of people who actually put things into writing. It's a very tiny piece of the population. So once you get enough of those people to agree, to say, we're not going to argue about this, and we're just going to put this down this way. Those of us who haven't done the research, we're just reading the publication, and it's so. And then you have enough bobbing heads. Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. And, and that's where I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go for it. The Bible. The Bible was written. It was it was assembled by a really tiny group of people 1,700 years ago. And it took, if I remember correctly, it took time, it took years for them to gather this information and to talk about what was being created. There was a lot of literature around, spiritual literature, and also specifically Jesus-based literature. There was all kinds of teachings around, and so they sorted through it, and they had a consensus idea of what it was going to be, and then they created this book. Emperor Constantine, who went from being, poly. I forget the word, but anyways, polytheist, basically multiple gods. He had his own epiphany and decided that he was going to move into this monotheistic idea. And Council of Nicaea in 300 and something AD. Now it is in the record, you have to go digging for it. And that's what's also interesting, is the parts of history is, the history's so dense. You've basically, you imagine this whole screen is all of history, and this is basically what people learn, is right up in here. We learn this little bit of history up here, which is that popular part, and there's all this depth. And so Council of Nicaea is down in here, and we're only learning this part of the Bible. And then there's even more truth, or let's just say there's more evidence further down. So history is just a bunch of facts, and they're designed to create an opinion, period. And then what I've been coming to lately is that the facts don't matter, because I can't actually corroborate anything. And even in the present day, I can't. Right now, the big thing is, we've got Clinton's emails, and we've got Trump's malignment, misbehavior with women. Technically, I have no way to corroborate if any of that is true, period. I can go to WikiLeaks, I can go watch the videos, but what really happens in the private moments, I actually have no way to factually discern what really happened. And so I bring that up as this part of the history, because really what you have control of is who you are in any moment, where your heart is, where your mind is. Do you allow your mind to be polluted with other ideas? Will you have the ability to filter and discern for yourself what goes into your brain? Will your heart resonate? I believe our heart is connected to spirit and connected to the infinite and the invisible realm. So will we allow our heart to resonate what's true for us, rather than just listening to the external teachings of history, or anything for that matter? All that I have control over is how I resonate, how I emanate, how I influence. That's all I have control over. And all of these details, potentially, they're just bullshit. They're distraction. They're distraction to evoke and cultivate my own, to hijack and commandeer my emotional state and my mental sharpness. And that's what all these details are. So take control of your wisdom. Take control of yourself. Meditate. Journey with some plant medicine. Go into some trances. Do something for yourself. You know what you want. You know where you want to get your wisdom from. It does take time to cultivate the energy, but it's there. It's there for you. Civilization is a lie. Civilization and society has lied to every single one of us about what truth is and what being human is. It is a lie. History is civilization. It's a construct paved over our natural wildness, our natural connection to all things and to this planet. Civilization is a numbing down of our intellect and our willingness to engage with ourselves, the divine, and the planet in a holistic way. Well, on the whole history thing, I guess this was a rhythm that showed up when I was explaining this. It's the whole thing about going deeper. So when we get confronted of like, no, this is what happened, this is what the facts are, this is what reality is, the history, no. Go deeper than what the external world is telling you. Go deeper than what the external experts are telling you. Go deeper. Do not just take what is given to you and accept that as real. Number 3, control by the elite. So really what this is, control by the elite, is really an idea more than, the distraction of the control by the elite is that we look at things like, oh, it's the Rockefellers and it's the Rothschilds and it's the, all these families. It's much deeper than that. So we think that by looking at the idea, well, who are these elite? And let's get them and let's hold them to their crimes and let's all that, this control by the elite. What's happening on a subliminal level, even when we become first aware of this control by the elite, is perhaps on some level is that we want to be one of the elite. We have this idea that the elite are living above the system and that the elite are getting what they want and that the elite have access to power and money and technology and the freedom to travel and whatever it is that we might think they are indulging in. There's this idea that the elite have access to all these indulgences because they are the elite. And that's like a hypnotic effect upon us that the rest of us are not elite. And that there's some threshold that we have to cross over to be powerful, to have what we want. But really, everything is an experience. And if we rely, and so what the elite are governing, let's just get clear on this, what the elite are governing first is the external world. Now, the masses completely outnumber the number of elite. We're just agreeing to it. However this external world is being governed, we've agreed to it. Yes, and it's like over generations we have given them consent and consent and consent. Our birth certificates are a form of consent. Our Social Security, our taxes. I mean, when we don't vote, it's a form of consent. When we don't act, it's a form of consent. When we act, it's a form of consent. We give over our consent to be controlled by this elite, so we don't have to manage it. This kind of is. That's what we've done. We have to take responsibility for that. We give them the power. We give the banks the power. We give the governments the power. We give the entertainers the power. We give the media the power by even paying attention to them, the elite. So the media can be included in this elite because the elite own the media and they're projecting onto us. Again, it's this external world control. Now, based on my reading, they are in pursuit of controlling the inner realms. But you get access to the inner realms by coming through the senses, so coming through our eyes, coming through our ears. And then that creates fear inside of us. And then we believe something internally. And when we believe that internally, it restricts and controls our expression. So really, The control by the elite idea is that to be in control, you have to be the elite. And if you're not the elite, you're fucked. Bullshit. Just so we know, that's a load of shit. Go deeper. That's why it's a veil, okay? It's a veil. It's worthy of being pierced as you go through your inner journey. So this idea that there's a hierarchical system and that there's a small group of people governing the external world and that you have no power is a bunch of shit. Now, I can say that, and I can get that most people will be bobbing their head in agreement, but your internal world has been programmed. So you need to do some of the internal work to reclaim your power. So, personally, I don't watch TV. I don't own a television anymore. I haven't had cable for years. I do still get news media. I do still watch television on occasion when I go visit family members and they have televisions. And what do? We sit around the campfire, this digital campfire. Instead of telling stories, the digital square box campfire tells us the stories. And when we get told those stories, we eat that shit up. And it controls our temperament, our feelings about the world and our place in the world. Take a break. Take a break from television. I'm telling you, it is the massive tool used to govern your inner realm. In this video right now, if you're still watching this video, it's has the potential to govern and influence where you're thinking, what you're believing. Do your own work. Do not take anything that is delivered to you through audio, video means as fact. Period. Not even this video. Period. You have to do your inner work. If you don't know how to do it, look for it. There's lots of stuff on meditation, self ritual, your own spiritual, invent your own spiritual practice. I did. It's rockin'. I love it. And there's no book that tells me what's right and wrong anymore. It is really quite liberating, and it is a courageous step. I don't say it like I did it one day and I turned a switch and boom, I had it. No, it takes courage to leave all that shit behind and take charge for yourself. So that's what the whole thing with the elite, control by the elite, is this illusion that you are without power because you are not in power. And that's bullshit. You are in power. You are in total control. And that you've been manipulated by this tool that's been weaponized by the elite. Audiovisual is a beautiful medium, and we're not taught how to use it, or it's like giving us a bad ingredient for our food. We just keep MSG. We just keep putting MSG. It makes the food taste great. Oh my God, monosodium glutamate. Oh. And people used to have that in their kitchen, and it's not anymore because it's kind of bad. And that's kind of what television. It is a prosthesis. A television is a prosthesis for your imagination. Reclaim your inner world. Reclaim your imagination. Reclaim your connection to source, creation, wisdom that you have access to through your heart center. So don't let the idea that there's an elite fuck with you. The elite don't have the power. They're having to weaponize this tool of visual media and other things and laws. They're having to weaponize things on a huge scale to keep us in a level of consent. And really, we're teetering, we're breaking through. So, so that's the third veil. Go deeper than this idea of hierarchical power. You are in power. You are very powerful. Number 4, secret societies. It's probably one of the most powerful things to, get people involved in the whole conspiracy theory. This whole idea that there's a cabal, the Illuminati, and who knows whatever the fuck else there are out there. You know what? I'm not even sure all that shit is real anymore. And I'm getting to a point where I don't give a shit anymore. Who cares about the details? Again, it falls back onto you. So this idea that there's secret societies. So behind the elite, there's this idea of secret societies. Because the elite can also just be the rich and people in the governing bodies. So the secret societies goes into that whole, the secret space program, that the Nazis are still around, that the Zionists have their own secret society, the cabal, the banking cabal, all kinds. I mean, who knows? All this stuff, and some of it's mystical. I mean, was that the Elk Grove or wherever that something grove where people, all these political people will go to the something grove. I forget what it is. You see that's how much I care. The details don't even stick with me anymore because so some of them have this mystical bent where they're evoking ancient religions and praying to ancient deity concepts. And then there's other ones that are secret societies. They're just control mechanisms. I mean, there's a whole thing about AI almost being like a secret society. I mean, so what is this? So we get worried. Part of the idea of the veil is that, if I was in a secret society, then I wouldn't be impacted by it. But really, it's about you taking your control back. So there's a whisper of an idea that there's the control by the elite. I'm going back briefly. Control by the elite is everything that we can kind of confirm already by just kind of the visual. The media already reports on it. I can Wikipedia about this. The control of the elite is all that. So the secret societies is part of that stuff that it's hard to research this stuff. It's why? Because it's a secret. And so there's secret places in our government. There's secret structures in all governments. There's secret structures in the Vatican. There's secret structures all over the place. And we get this idea that they are in control on a deeper level, and that perhaps they hold information that would liberate us. Maybe. But guess what? You have access. You have not been trained. That's all. You've just not been trained. You've not been cultivated to believe that you have the access to get to secret wisdom all on your own. It's there for you. Trust me. You just have to keep working. You have to keep digging. You have the ability to have access. So I'm not going to really cover this in much detail. It's very similar to that whole elite thing. It's this idea that if I had access to what these secret societies had access to, if I had access to their wisdom, to their tools, to their protocol, to their ritual, to their ceremony, to their prayers, whatever the fuck it is, their technology, just if I had access to that, maybe my life would be better. No, you'd still be deluded. You'd still be trapped at that level. Go deeper. Reclaim yourself. You are on the journey to reclaim your power. Don't be deluded that the secret societies have more power than you. They don't. You're still riding a tricycle. You haven't gotten onto two wheels or much less a unicycle yet. It just takes courage to take those training wheels off. Spiritually, that's all it takes. You're probably going to fall down. You're going to eat it. You're going to get raspberries on your elbows and your knees, maybe your face even. It's okay. Just go through it. We all went through it. How many adults do you see riding training wheels? None. Because they all stepped through. And that's all that's what you're feeling. If you're watching this, if you're still watching this, it's because you feel that calling to step through. Go deeper. That's it. Number 5, secret technologies. So there's this idea out there that there's this secret space program and that there's I'm just going to blather a little bit of all of this stuff that there's that the earth is hollow, that there's civilizations under the earth that are much older than the surface civilization, that there's technologies, ET, there's humans out in space already, there's humanity out there, that the Nazis have left, and that the other space programs from the Russians, the United States, they've all left secretly, and they're out there in space. There's massive amounts of technology, that there's time travel, that there's healing paradigms, there's all kinds of ideas of technologies, ET technology, time portals, amazing stuff. Yeah, fun, could be really fun, and it's not the end. Go deeper. Your happiness, your joy, your bliss, your peace is not reliant on any technology. Okay? So when you see a happy animal out there in the wild, whether that be like an elephant, a tiger, a monkey, a squirrel, technology does not make them happy. Connection to source creation brings them bliss, brings them happiness, brings them connection, a sense of belonging to all things. It is not technology. Technology can be fun and can be wondrous and awe-inspiring and create access to some amazing things. And I'm not going to cover it in this video, but there's a whole other thing about the way humanity is engaged. All bipedal intelligence is engaged in this 3D physical realm. I have other ideas on that I'm not going to share right now. But just understand, technology does not give you access to joy, happiness, peace, the true inner peace, true bliss. That is you and your connection to the planet, your connection to people. You cultivate that. It doesn't matter if you're in an internment camp, in a prison, or out in a field free to do whatever it is you want. Technology doesn't stop there. So let's not get caught up on what all this secret technology can do, because apparently it can, your imagination, if you can imagine it, technology has been developed, or it's already been explored. being explored. So let's not get caught there. Go deeper. Where you're after your authentic power. You're after, if you're still watching, you're after your authentic bliss. You're after your authentic peace. Technology is a fun distraction, and it's all that it is, and it's okay to be distracted here and there. Don't let it become your God, your ultimate means of joy. Number 6, ET presence engaged in our Earth culture now. So we have David Icke, who does amazing work and research, and pretty courageous bloke, to be quite honest, to going up against the system to reveal what he believes is true. How much do I believe is true? I'm not sure, and I personally have no way to corroborate it. There's definitely my feelings that yes, and there's a lot of other evidence that trans-dimensional beings of some sort, beings who might have access to more than just the third dimension, are leeching off of us, fucking with us, using the tools of deception. It's just there. They're just cougars, tigers, they're hunters. It's all that it is. You know, we saw that movie, Predator. They're predators. So predators prey on the weak. That's the natural order of things. And sometimes predators will try and get out of balance and prey on the strong, but it's much easier to prey on the weak. When there's weak around, why go fuck with an adult? And why go fuck with something that could mess you up, reveal who you are, upset your game, when it's easier to deceive something less observant, less willing to. So the key is to take control of you, to understand that the fabric of the universe, deception is part of that fabric. Period. Being deceived is you're being deceived all the time. We all are. And it's no big fucking deal. We don't have to get all uppity about it. So if there's predatory consciousness engaged inside of this human civilization, I'm going to say, in my own opinion, that doesn't necessarily feel untrue. And the way through it is, so what? You have control. Present yourself as not prey. Take control of your wisdom. Take control of your feelings. Take control of your mind. Be responsible. So that's another part of it, is to own it. That you have the ability to agree at any moment at what you feel, and agree what you believe, and agree how you express yourself. You are that responsible. Now, there is other mind control shit out there, apparently. And I'm not an authority on it to say, hey, it's as simple as A, B, C, D to break through heavy layers of mind control. I don't know that. But For those of us, the mind control that really most of us are subject to is television, news media, religions, governments, racial opinions, all this gender opinions, all this stuff that we get activated over. And if that's all, if this ET presence, predatory presence is true, our emotional state is the food, is the nourishment. Some people call it yush. And this idea that we become fearful or angry or savage, that becomes a nourishment to them. So present yourself as not prey. Present yourself as not influenceable by an external, well, I was going to say external influence. Influenceable by an external influence, blah, blah, blah. Present yourself as not prey. That you are coherent to your authenticity. An external influence does not have power to evoke an emotion for you that is nourishing to them. It is, again, about you claiming you, your source connection to all things. So who gives a shit what's real or not? The journey is the same. The journey is about you becoming responsible for what you feel and what you think and how you express that into the world. That's all that it is. So whether it's true or not, the journey is the same. The details are irrelevant. Go deeper. Go beyond that idea. Don't worry your mind and your heart about that possibility that humanity and the earth is controlled by a predatory conscious collective. Don't sweat it. Do your inner work. Go deeper. Number 7. Numbers, sacred geometry, fractals. So here's this idea that beyond the human consciousness is a factual world. So we're getting into the atomic structure of things. So that this idea that there is a truth in once we get into this, what we think is non-intelligence. So really what numbers, sacred geometry, and fractals really are, all that they are, is a presentation of relationship. So even your basic, you've got your 1. And when you have 2, it's only 2 when 1 is related to 1. Otherwise, it's 1 and 1. It becomes 2 when it's related. And it's the same with geometry. You only have a triangle with 3 points when they are related. Otherwise, you've got a point and a line. When you relate them together, you get a triangle. Everything is relationship. It's relatedness. So the numbers and the geometry and the fractals is our way of describing the relationship. And the relationship has nuances that cannot be defined by numbers. And so we even created these non-resolvable numbers we call pi and phi. Now, pi is the relationship of a perfect circle, and and phi is this golden means ratio, which we can see related in various spirals. Now, what's amazing is they're not resolvable, so they're kind of wobbly. Now, in nature, there is no perfect circle. There is no perfect spiral. They have a resemblance to these, but they're not perfect. And so, even though we show how phi, the golden mean spiral, will create a pine cone, or a pineapple, or a flower, or a nautilus shell, when you actually break out the math and when you look at this shit, they're wobbly. These are suggestions, but they're not perfect, and that's really the beauty of it. And so this idea that numbers and sacred geometry, they're invitations to see our relatedness. And so what we're approaching now is everything before that, in my opinion, with politics, history, control by the elite, secret society, secret technology, presence of ET. It's still an us against them. Us against them. There's the me and there's the them. When we get to numbers, sacred geometry, fractals, it's the first glimpse we have of unity consciousness. And so this is what the portal is. It's a portal, it's a gateway, it's an invitation to approach. So science, in doing their research, comes up with these various relationships, which can be defined in all of these various maths, and they are just invitations to come deeper, to see that perhaps we are not all different. We are not all separate. That's the gateway. That's the portal of this. It's the invitation that we are not us against them or me against those. We are a collective so not only am I related to people, I'm related to the animals, I'm related to the plants, I'm related to the minerals, I'm related to the planet, to the cosmos, and it just goes bigger, and that's what the fractal part is the fractal. People have shown these amazing videos of a neuron in our brain, and then a nebula, and how they look so similar. And so really the structure, this fractal structure of relatedness, and this illusion that we're in, illusion of separateness. And so the numbers, even though it's defined by distinctions of separateness and relatedness, the invitation is to see the collective unity of all things. So it's almost a conundrum, an oxymoron, that we're going to use these separateness to understand the wholeness, which is actually what discernment means. Discernment actually means to understand the individual bits, to get an understanding of the wholeness of all things and how we're related to that. So as we approach math and we think it's the ultimate language of the universe, and we think that it's the ultimate governing These are just concepts and ideas. The universe does not work with math. Math is a construct of understanding the relationships, the divine cosmic relationships of all things. And we can only approximate. That's why these numbers are not resolvable. We can approximate that so we can get, and that's where the invitation stops. The rest of it is you must go deeper, beyond the math, beyond the idea that math holds the secret is just a portal. Go deeper. We're at number 8. These next two can really fuck with you. So if you're not ready, turn it off. Keep watching. I hope you got with me this far. So number 8 is God. Some of the, when you research the 9 veils yourself, you'll find somebody, they kind of lop in God with God and love as the same thing. And that number 9 is perfecting love. I'm just going to keep it simple, because most people's idea of God includes love in it. We're just going to keep God as number 8, and 9 is love. So what does that mean? We've been breaking through all of these veils because they're not real. We've been breaking through every single one of these. We're going deeper. We're going deeper through these. They're all invitations to go deeper. And now we're approaching what we're trained as children to believe is the ultimate. We're not even at the end. We're trained to consider that God is the ultimate. Beyond all things, we find a consciousness, which is defined as God. So, what's happening here? How is God not the penultimate? How is God a veil? Wouldn't it be that when we go through all 9 veils, that at the end, beyond the 9 veils is God? Isn't that the way that we're trained to believe? So again, don't just believe anything that I'm saying here. You can call me a liar. You can say I'm speaking untruth. You can say this is disinformation. I'm just telling you this is my journey. This is what's been happening on my journey. This is what I'm willing to confront. And everybody else can be willing to confront whatever it is that they want. I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm not here to tell you that God is veil number 8 and that you have to pierce through it. I'm not saying that. It's an interesting invitation to consider that beyond God is more. So I'm going to digress slightly, because this is just my journey, my truth. As I've been investigating all of these other veils, our idea of God is a construct based on almost all of these. I won't say all of them, but definitely, controlled by elite, secret societies, history, politics even. Our idea of God is taught to us through an external teacher. Sometimes it's a book. Sometimes it's a person. I have different ideas on what it means to be a human, what it means to be a soul on this planet at this time, and what these religions will teach you. And the only way I came to these ideas was I took charge of my journey and decided to investigate what is the spiritual realm and what is my relatedness to the cosmos and to the divine. So I'm not standing here or sitting here as an atheist, and I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the validity of religion. Let's be really specific. So, it is my feeling that it is possible that there is a consciousness, as we have names for all these deities. It is possible that these deities exist as consciousness. As we have relatedness to them. But I've always had a problem with, once we break into this idea of how we belong to the cosmos, and that when we encounter, the first time we encounter an extraterrestrial race of beings, and we have open communication, and we start that conversation about what God is, I think we're going to have our minds fucking blown. I don't think there's a Jesus out in the cosmos. It's very earth specific, and that's totally fine. That doesn't mean that he didn't exist. That doesn't mean that his teachings aren't relevant to the earth. I'm just pushing through. I'm pushing through to be related to the cosmos and what it means to be spiritually connected there. And so it's my belief that all of these teachings from these beings that present themselves as God, I won't say they present themselves as God, we've made an interpretation that they are God, that they govern specifically this local region. They don't govern. But they're here locally. And deception is part of the fabric of the universe. I mean, this throws in a lot of questions. I don't have answers here. I don't have answers here. I'm just saying that when we open up to the idea that we belong to, sorry, I had to look at the time, that we belong to the cosmos. I think our religions are going to get a shakedown. I think because they've been constructed as systems of control, primarily. So really what the invitation is to get beyond the system of control, to get beyond the religion idea of deity. It's an interesting invitation to consider stepping into a sacred space for yourself, however that is. Meditation, trance state, and seek communion with divine consciousness without knowing its name, without knowing its source. And so there's this interesting idea that there's polarities. So we have God, and we have Satan, They're actually different poles. That, to me, source creation, all that is beyond the idea of God. Because the way that I learned, and I'm just going to speak from the way that I learned it. I'm not saying this is the way you learned it. The way I learned it, God holds the polarity of the positive, and the devil or Satan or whoever, Hades, holds the polarity of the negative. So if God is the ultimate, well, then how can God be separate from Satan? So I'm going deeper. Period. This whole idea that there is a God, that there's a distinction, is a singularity of separateness. When placed in opposition, we have a deity of divine, of a positive aspect, and a deity of a negative aspect. I mean, there's even talk that, people worship Satan. People worship God, Jehovah, Satan, Jesus, Lucifer. I don't know all the names. We've created them as singularities. So they can't be all things. My journey is to get to knowing source creation of all things. So there's something beyond that, this unity, wholeness, which encapsulates. There's another tier. So as we go through the onion of reality, the tier of God, gods, deities, we have no name or concept for what all that is yet in this society. Not that I'm aware of. And perhaps it exists in some sort of Gnostic religion or faith. But I'm just saying, automatically I'm going deeper because the concept of God has been presented as a single entity of one aspect, and it doesn't encompass all things, so there's got to be more. But that's all I have to say about that. The rest is your journey. You can take that as your invitation or reject it. It's all fine. So now we're at 9. Going deeper. We're at love. How can love be a veil? Love conquers all. Love is the ultimate power in the universe, according to all the things that we get taught. There's a whole list of quotes of how love represents the ultimate. How can love be a veil? This is a bunch of bullshit, René. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is where it ends. Love, right? No. Consider. I'm considering it. I can't be the only person considering it. What if love is a veil? What if love is a construct of deception to keep us away from knowing who we are, knowing our own power? So, when we get into love, we get into feeling, we get into resonance. Going back to the idea that deception is part of the fabric of the universe, it's when we just go to the very basics of love in relationship. When I think of love, sometimes it shows up as the classic, looking for your life partner. So you find your life partner, or you find someone a prospect to be a partner with. It might not be your life partner yet, but you're going to partner up with them. So we tend to, get ourselves all presentable. We don't show them the dirty dishes in our sink, our undone laundry, our unpaid parking fines, the way that we talk to our parents when we're not happy. We keep hidden. We are deceptive when we present to our prospective partner in the hopes of finding love. Now, some people would say that's not love, because love is going to accept you exactly as you are. But there's a dance that we use to approach that love. To get somebody to love our negative side, we get them to love and appreciate, become attached to our positive side in such a way that they will now accept our negative side. That's the hope, right? To get to that kind of love. But really, this dance of love. And then we have, love is really such an interesting thing. It's this one word, 4 letters. And it's this concept that's so deep. I don't remember having a class in school specifically talking about love. If it's one of the most ultimate things in reality, shouldn't we be learning about it? Shouldn't we be getting taught about this more? It means something different to every single person. There's this song by The Offspring I keep bringing up with some people when they're struggling with a relationship not working out the way that they're wanting it to. The more you suffer, the more it shows you really care, right? Yeah. That's an idea of love. An idea is that you're willing to suffer. So really, what this is, in my opinion, is to get out of the way that there's one meaning to this feeling and this experience of love. And really what it is, it's a resonance that we feel when we are related to another person or to another thing, maybe to even the divine. This love to the planet, to a concept. It is a lighting up of ourselves. Now, love potentially it's a resonance that occurs when we are in proximity to something that our heart, so our heart center is a resonant field, and it also has resonant potential. It would be like a piano without somebody playing it. It's got all these strings. And so if somebody slaps their hand down on that piano and you just create this discordant sound, and somebody can play something pleasing. Now what's interesting is that you can play several different kinds of piano music. Some people hate Mozart. Some people love Mozart. Some people love Beethoven. Some people hate Beethoven. Some people don't even like the piano at all. And that's like what the heart is. The heart, each individual heart has its preference, its own potential resonance. And so love, in my opinion, is when our heart is played by being in relatedness to something, by connecting to the cosmos, becoming bigger than ourselves. So really, it is the breaking free, breaking through love. Love is this idea, is the last layer of self. It's the last layer of singularity. So for love to exist, I must have another. Something. Another object. It could be animals. It could be the planet. It could be the cosmos. It could be God. It could be my lover. It could be my children. Love exists because we are still believing in our separateness. And it's a reminder that we're connected to more than just ourselves. That our heart is set to sing. Time stops. Temporal reality stops. The physical boundaries stop when we're in an authentic experience of love, and then we're asked to go deeper, than that. So love represents the final throwdown of this illusion of being a singularity, this illusion of being an individual. So the journey is to give that up, to move through this idea of separateness. Now, here we are, we're existing in these physical bodies. So it's really quite a stretch to take in all that is while being in this vantage point of being a human at this point. I don't have the solutions. These are just invitations to go deeper for your exploration. This is the journey I'm on. Piercing through the 9 veils is a courageous journey. Piercing through the 9th veil is going to take dismantling a lot of programming. I'm still on that. I believe we have the capacity to have glimpses of it. So perhaps the journey is to have a glimpse of what it's like to be beyond the 9 veils. So let's just say you're in a moment of intimate bliss. That's sexual intimate bliss, where you're really, truly heart connected. You could give a shit about all those other 8 veils, typically. When you're in that moment of bliss with your partner, who gives a shit about Hillary and Trump, politics, history? Who gives a crap? Controlled by the elite. Fuck them. Secret societies, cabal, Illuminati. You're in the middle of that intimate bliss moment with your partner. Who gives a shit? Secret technologies can't touch that bliss moment that you're approaching with your partner. ET presence now, who gives a fuck, right? Numbers, sacred geometry, and all that relatedness, too mental, right? Not important. God, you're probably approaching that possibility, but you might be so self-absorbed. God might not be now. We hear, oh God, oh God, oh God. Leave that behind. Now you're in your love state. You're in the ninth veil. You're in what people are considering the ultimate. Perhaps in that moment, what would it be like to fiercely pierce through what's beyond that love state? Now, this is all stream of consciousness. I've never had this idea before of like being in that physically intimate moment, being in that, charging that with the heart space and that connectedness, and now piercing through. I haven't experimented with this yet. It's just a brand new idea I'm bringing up right now. What would that be like to pierce through that? To connect to all things. Maybe someone like Alex Gray has pierced through. The artist, Alex Gray. Interesting stuff here. So I hope this has helped you going deeper on your journey. Many blessings on your journey. And hopefully there's more discourse.